still become a great place to retire, or has all us old expats worn out our welcome? Let's talk about this, and let's dive into a few of the issues. One of the issues involved is my Social Security. And when we talk about Social Security and receiving our benefits and our medical benefits from the U.S., that is one of the things I'm really worried about. You can't use your Medicare here, Medicare Part B. You can't go to the doctor and bill the United States government to cover your expenses. Some people tell me they can, but I have yet to meet anyone in person who can show me a receipt where Medicare sent them the money for their hospital stay, other than a short-term visitor who came here and had an emergency. I think that is the only thing that will save you. But if you've been here for 6 months, a year, and you have Medicare Part B and you go into the hospital, I don't think you're going to get any reimbursement for that. Social Security. This rumor going around that they're going to cut Social Security to people who live overseas, people who are receiving their Social Security and they no longer live in the U.S., that they're going to cut the payment. Because you're not here in the U.S., you don't need so much money. I hope that never happens. I'm prepared for 2030, where they might make a cut of 20%. That is something I'm watching and well aware that that might happen. But I'm worried about this recent administration going into Social Security and saying, hey, let's stop making all the payments. Let's verify that this person is entitled to it. And how long is it going to take for them to verify me, Mike, in the Philippines, that I am eligible for my Social Security? Are they going to mail me a letter and I'm going to have to fill it out, return it like a proof of life? Are we going to have to do that all the time? Are they going to go and check my past earnings and make adjustments to say, hey, you should be getting less money? You don't need that much money. Are they going to cut Social Security down to cover the cost of everything else that's going on in the U.S.? Us expats that are here in the Philippines or any other country in the world, we're low-hanging fruit. It's easy for somebody to say, hey, let's not bother people back home in the U.S. Let's go after all those guys who are living outside of the country. All these green card holders who were eligible for Social Security, receiving their Social Security, and have moved back to their native country to be with their family. And are they going to cut their Social Security? Are they going to take that away? So here we are, sitting here in the Philippines, been here 3 years now. Can they reach into Social Security and say, hey, Mike, you're receiving too much money. We're going to cut your Social Security in half, in third, or maybe take it away altogether, or stop it while they investigate me and everybody else that's living outside of the country. That is a big worry on my side. I'm really thinking hard about moving a lot of money over here and securing my future here in the Philippines because of what might go on in the next 4 years. Let's hope whatever the government is doing, they're doing for the best interest of the American people. We can't look into people's hearts and tell what they really want to do. We don't know if they're good or bad. You'll never know until they're finished, if it was all good or all bad. And I understand people make mistakes. Sometimes you do what you think is right, and it's a mistake, and you have to go back and correct it. But let's just hope they're not trying to ruin my retirement and yours living overseas by saving money, by cutting the money I received and I have earned over the years of working in the U.S. Let me give you a few reasons why the welcome has shifted, maybe a little bit not so welcoming as before. The rising nationalism here in the Philippines, just like in the U.S., where America comes first. People in the Philippines are starting to say Philippines comes first. And a lot of that has to do with land purchasing. You have to be a Filipino citizen, born here probably, to own property. I may be wrong on that, but you have to be a Philippine citizen to own property here. The visa situation here in the Philippines, it's getting harder and harder and more difficult. Not if you get a permanent resident visa, but the tourist visa. They really don't want us to be here for 3 years on the tourist visa. They want us to explain why we're here. I remember in the past, many guys would come here on their tourist visa and stay 3 years. And just prior to the 3 years, they would leave the country, make a border run, fly to Thailand, fly to Indonesia, spend a day there, and then come back to the Philippines and restart their 3-year tourist visa stay. Things have changed. They're asking more questions. There's an interview process. No longer can you get a 6-month extension on your tourist visa. It's every 2 months. So they're sticking close to us. They're keeping tabs on us. And sometimes as a tourist, you feel like your welcome is over. It's time for you to leave and you need to become a permanent resident. So that's something else that's happening here in the Philippines. They want you to become permanent here and not just come in and stay forever on a tourist visa. Same thing in the U.S. America's the same way. So we can't blame the Philippine government for wanting to do that. It's the same thing in the U.S. They don't want illegals in. People who come on a student visa and overstays, people who come in on a tourist visa and never leave. They're looking for those people to leave. So nationalism here in the Philippines, the pride of being a Filipino here in the country is making it more and more difficult for foreigners to live here and call the Philippines their home. There's also a lot of higher costs going on here. Inflation, the cost of living, it's far cheaper than back in the U.S., but it is something to worry about here. But something I'm worried about are the tariffs for products being sent into the U.S. Are other countries going to force the American companies, American products coming into, the country I'm in, the Philippines, are they going to put a tariff on that to increase the cost to us? So our cost of goods are going to increase here in the Philippines, especially for Western items. I see a future of high inflation here in the Philippines based on this tariff tax that is going on in the U.S. You guys are better at explaining it than I am, but this tariff situation, I don't think it's a win-win. I think it's a lose-lose, but what do I know? I'm just a 70-year-old man sitting in the Philippines enjoying my life. Also, the amount of scams that are happening here in the Philippines to expats, investment scams, not just, the broken heart romantic scams, but scams where people get taken when they go to buy a house or they buy a condo or they buy a car, large dollar value scams. They are happening more and more often. And is the Philippine government doing enough to stop it? I think they're doing a lot to stop the scams towards Filipinos. I don't think they have that big of interest in stopping the scams that are happening to expats here in the Philippines. I think that's a separate issue. You're here on a tourist visa and you got scammed. Well, you're just here being a tourist. Go back home and, quit being scammed. If you're on a permanent resident visa, that's a different item. It's like a green card in the U.S. You have a little bit more rights and you're here permanently. But for those of you who are here on a tourist visa, scams are really starting to pile up on you guys. We also have a lot of expat issues. You see it in the news all the time. If you're watching some other bloggers, a lot of expats are getting into trouble. And the way the Philippine government is starting to handle bad expats is they just put them in detention and then they get them deported. Deportation is the easy way out. It's the easy way to get rid of troublemakers. As in America, the deportation of people who have committed crimes, small or large, that is going to rub off here in the Philippines. And it isn't just going to be major crimes that they deport you for. If you start committing any crimes, maybe the government will put their foot down in the near future and mirror the immigration policies of America. And anybody who is in trouble, out you go. And there's no safety because you have a permanent residence visa. If you commit a major crime here in the Philippines or the Philippine government finds you to be undesirable, even if you have a permanent residence, a 13A, a student visa, they can ask you to leave. They can ask anybody to leave at any time. Expat issues. Mind your own business, stay out of trouble. And the social media exposure here in the Philippines, is it becoming unwelcoming as us bloggers are showing more and more bad things that people do here? We're showing more and more expats getting into fights, expats divorcing, expats having marital problems, expats, having domestic problems, having road rage, risky business endeavors. They start a business with no permits, and all this is starting to show up on social media. A lot of things the Philippine government finds out about people. They find on social media. They see it on your Facebook. They see it on if you're a YouTuber, or maybe even a YouTuber goes in and says, hey, this is Joe. He owns this restaurant here. And the Philippine government sees that. They check on Joe and they see he's on a tourist visa. Out he goes. So social media has a big impact on our welcome here. And also all the Filipinos that are watching YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, they see that us foreigners are misbehaving. And the more we misbehave, the more they laugh at us and they lose respect for us. Jan and I, when we first started dating and we were driving around and we saw this one guy just having a fit on the highway. He just couldn't get out of his parking spot. He had nobody to help him. He was just angry and yelling at the world, yelling at a couple guys on their motorbike. And Janet just said, another foreigner, always argue, always fight. So they're used to that. They're used to seeing it. They're used to hearing it. And especially people here in Dumaguete and other expat bubbles where expats misbehave and it pops up on social media. Nowadays, guys, everybody has a camera. They have a cell phone and they're quick to pop it up on Facebook. Just different groups, different places on Facebook, and it spreads quickly because the Filipinos like to share it. They share the problems that they see foreigners have. Sometimes it's comical, sometimes it's just right sad. So how can we thrive here in the Philippines as an expat? You need to come here and experience and respect the Filipino culture. You can't come in here and bring all our Western values, all our Western ways here to the Philippines. Some guy made a comment on one of my posts. The girl shouldn't be calling you boss. You shouldn't say that you're trying to teach her, that she's in training. But here in the Philippines, if you're in a good relationship with somebody, she's going to call you the boss. It could be jokingly, it could be seriously. But me and Jan will be sitting at a table in a restaurant, and I go, she's the boss when they bring the bill because Janet has the money. I go, the boss will pay for it. And she'll joke around my way too. Where are we going today, Mike? And I go, we'll go for a ride to Twin Lakes. I go, you want to ride your bike or on my back? The back of the motorbike. And she'll say, on the back of the bike. I just follow you, boss. They don't take things so serious when they're just words, when they know your real intention. Being politically correct in what you say and what you do is not that big a deal here. This is not California. This is not New York. This is not Florida. Political correctness is not a necessity here. Respect is a necessity. But political correctness, just mind your own business and enjoy your life and enjoy the Philippine culture. Laugh with the locals, laugh with your friends. Enjoy your life here in the Philippines. Another way that people can help thrive here in the Philippines, secure your financial future. Don't come here with no money. Don't come here thinking you're going to make a ton of money online or you're going to get a job in the Philippines. You could be the best bricklayer in the world. You could be the best carpenter in the world. You come here to the Philippines, you're not going to get a job. They're going to hire a Filipino. The law states that they cannot hire a foreigner to do any work if there is a Filipino that can do the job. And just because you're a master craftsman carpenter doesn't mean another Filipino can't hammer nails into a piece of wood. You'll never get those jobs. Plus, they don't pay nothing. What are you going to make? 300 pesos a day, 500 pesos a day, 6, maybe $10 a day? It's not worth it. Secure your income prior to coming to the Philippines. To be successful here in the Philippines, have an income. Have a pension, have your Social Security, and if you're working online, already have an established job that you're working online, getting paid in the U.S. The big secret here in the Philippines is to make dollars and spend pesos. I'm getting really tired of watching these guys try to go into business here in the Philippines, and they're charging pesos for a cup of coffee, pesos for a sandwich, pesos for a car wash, and spending pesos. You need to be concentrating to the U.S. on investments or working online with an American company to make dollars. make dollars, and spend pesos. That's a way to be successful here in the Philippines. And the best way to thrive here in the Philippines is make some good relationships. And I'm not just saying make relationships with me or another blogger or something, relationships with the people in your neighborhood. If you settle into one barangay or you settle in the Cebu City, just become a good neighbor, make good friends, make solid friends. We're all going to meet people that we're going to call associates when we first meet them. They're friends at first. But slowly, we're going to throw those people outside of our inner circle and we're going to find really good friends. And they'll be in our inner circle. Build a strong inner circle of friends, people you can count on, people you can talk to who don't run out and talk chismis and maritas and try to just spread gossip about you. Find that handful of good friends. Also, in your relationships with females, if it's a long-term relationship or short-term. Be a good person, treat that person well, and be very honest with that person. If you're not going to stay together for a long time, let her know you're just dating. Let her know you're only here for 2 months. But if you're looking for that long-term commitment and a long-term relationship, and she's the girl for you, go ahead and tell her that. But respect her and give her the respect she deserves and the respect her family deserves. And you'll receive all that respect in return. Now, the Philippines is not the only place worth retiring. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of these countries are tough to retire to. Vietnam, with their visa problem there and the language barrier. A lot of people are going to tell you Vietnam's the best place to go. I don't think so. I think it's a toss-up after the Philippines between Malaysia and Thailand. But they both have their issues. Thailand has that visa issue where you have to run to the border quite often. Now, Malaysia is a great alternative. They speak English there. Their visa program's not that difficult, but the religion is. It's a large Muslim community there. And being a Christian man going to a Muslim country, it's going to shrink the dating pool for you. It is also going to shrink the amount of people you make friends with. I'm not saying you can't make friends with Muslim men and women, but they more or less keep to themselves, keep within their own community, just like you do. When you find a group of Americans, or if you're British, a bunch of Brits, you're going to go and hang out with them. People like to hang out with their own kind, and there's nothing wrong with that. So the Philippines offers you the best of all worlds. It offers the great visa. It offers English as a language. Signage is in English. They drive on the same side of the road as we do back in the U.S. So many positive things here, but it is getting to be tougher and tougher to survive here in the Philippines. And another key to being successful on your retirement is finding the right place to live. You're going to have to like the area that you're in. If you're a surfer, you want to hang around where there's some waves. If you're a beach goer or you like to swim in the ocean, you want to live close to the ocean, close to beach access. If you're a hiker and you enjoy the mountains and you like a little bit cooler weather, you're going to want to settle down more in the mountains. If you're a rural guy, you're from the country, you don't want a big crowd, you're going to have to find a smaller community. You're an urban guy. You like living on the 25th floor of a condo unit. You love the idea of having a lot of malls to go visit, a lot of concrete. You just like city life, the restaurants, the coffee shops, everything that you want back home, but at a fraction of the cost. You just have to find the right place for you to live where you can be successful and happy. The happiness drives being successful. Remember, guys, don't chase the girls, chase the dream. Your dream is to live in an exotic country, Southeast Asia, and live less expensive than in the U.S. And wherever you choose to live, you have to enjoy your home and then go out and find a girl. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're beautiful, good women everywhere in the Philippines. Until next time, guys.